Hi guys, it's me, Azul, and today I have a little story time. I want to make this video a long time ago. It was supposed to come out last year, so I'm sorry for that. But I didn't really know how I want to tell the story, so I wrote it down, and I hope it will be easier to understand that way. I'm gonna be reading what I wrote and come back to you at the end of the video. So, hope you enjoy. I was in my first class of college. It was audiovisual language, and we were learning about different kinds of visual storytelling. At the end of the class, the teacher gave us a first group assignment, where we had to tell a story in 7 different pictures. We had a script telling us the setup, so it would be easier. Since I barely knew anybody from that class, I asked the girl from my seat if she wanted to do the project with me. For the sake of protecting her identity, let's call her Bonnie. Bonnie and I agreed to meet up in San Telmo, a part of the city that has a lot of touristic centers and bars, so we wouldn't have a hard time to find a place for the project. We also needed a couple of actors, so she offered her to ask her friends. Finally, we only needed a camera. Since Bonnie's father was a photographer, she also offered buying a camera. We agreed to meet on Sunday, a day before the deadline, so we had no extra time in case we needed to redo the photos. That Sunday, the weather report said there was going to be a pretty big storm in the city. When I was leaving home, the sky was already covered in great thick clouds. Once I arrived at the station, I had to take the train to go there. It was raining pretty heavily. Luckily, I had an umbrella, but it didn't help me because the wind almost broke it apart. The streets were flooded, so my legs were soaked, and I walked a couple of streets until I got to our meeting point to discover there was nobody there. I wasn't late, but I was expecting Bonnie and the others to be there already. I sent her a text telling where I was, and she told me she wasn't even out of her house yet. I got a bit annoyed, but I just waited there. I got under a roof and let 20 minutes pass, then texted her again. She told me she couldn't find her bag, so she would be a little late, and we would have to go to meet her friends in a different place. At this point, I was already mad, but I didn't say anything. I had to wait anyways, but I didn't want to lose so much time to meet people that should already been there. I waited another 20 minutes for her to arrive. She told me we had to walk a couple of streets to meet the girl. Let's call her Ari. I tried to convince her to tell Ari to come here instead, but she told me she was already in her way, so we started walking. We walked like 12 blocks under the rain until we found her. We only needed one more actor. I asked Bonnie if she knew how long it would take him for him to arrive. Ari said he was actually working at the moment, that we had to go meet him, let's call him Chad, at his place, and he will help us when he was finished. Chad was working at a Titian's fair in Plaza de Mayo, which was like 30 minutes away from where we were. I was getting really pissed about all the inconveniences, but I didn't want to take it out on them. We started walking, which wasn't the best option because the streets were pretty slippery. It stopped raining at the moment, but our clothes were still wet. Ari and Bonnie didn't really care. They were talking about some party they were together. I didn't mind that they were chatting with each other since I was kinda spacing out at the moment, but I was kinda mad that we were walking to the place. I suggested we took the bus, but we weren't near any bus stops, so we had to keep going on feet. It took us almost an hour to get there because we had to be extra careful not to trip on the streets. Once we got to the park, I asked the girls if they knew where exactly was Chad working. They didn't know. We called Chad and asked him for directions. He told us he was on a street none of us know, so we had to look it up on our phones. When we were walking around in circles for about 40 minutes looking for the street until we found an alley that was just behind where we started. The place was covered in plastic bags and trash, so we thought it was just a corner to dump garbage. Turns out, behind all those bags the street continued, and then there was the fair. The girls started laughing about our capability to find the street, but I was incredibly angry. We lost hours walking and getting lost in the rain, and they were just laughing about it, not taking it seriously at all. It was almost 5 o'clock and we didn't even find a place to start the project. I just asked them to move on. Finally, we found Chad. I knew he couldn't get out of work. He was just at his aunt's cell before he finished his term, but we had to move soon or we wouldn't lose sunlight. He asked his aunt if he could go help us, and after 5 minutes he convinced her. But he had to move all the things back to their car, which was like a block away. Bonnie offered we help so it would be faster. While we were moving all the bags to the car, being careful not to bump into anybody on the street or falling off the wall floor, I was just repeating to myself, why me? I was so mad that I wasn't talking. We shrinked back now like an hour later. Finally, when we were all free, we had to go find a bar to do the photo shoot. Since we were already so far from San Telmo, we had to go find a place near the park. After 20 minutes of looking for one on our phones, we went to the Starbucks nearby. We entered the coffee shop and just went to sit down. Our clothes were still wet and our shoes were stained with mud. The three of them started chatting, but I wasn't looking for the proper bar on my phone. I knew the manager of the Starbucks wouldn't let us take photos without even buying a coffee. After a couple of minutes, I found one that was 1 block away and seemed nice enough for us to go. I told the guys in the front place I asked them to stand up. They looked at me with puppy eyes, saying they were much too tired. At that moment, I had no patience left, so I told them we all have to move now, or we wouldn't have any time to do the project. The guys seemed to take me more seriously by the tone of my voice, and so we left the place. Chad said I was acting like a leader, so I should just lead the way to the bar. I felt pretty awkward since I normally don't take the initiative in social events, but I was so anxious at the moment that I didn't really care that I was acting like a naggy girl. We got to the entrance of the place. Bonnie and I were discussing how we were going to ask for permission for the photo shoot, and Chad said I got this. Then, he went up to one of the waiters and explained how we were a group from photography school and how to do a photo shoot project in the establishment. The waiter seemed fascinated by his talking and let us sit at a table that was right next to a window so we could have the street as a background. Bonnie and I were ecstatic since the place was incredibly pretty and we were super lucky that it let us in without having to purchase anything. The waiter even gave us a pair of cups to simulate the actors were drinking. We began to set up the scene as soon as we could, when the same waiter came to us and asked Bonnie and me to come with him. At the moment, I was so tired that I didn't realize what I was doing. We started following the guy downstairs, when there was a service bathroom and a secret underground door. It was then that when I doubted the waiter. Why was he leading us downstairs, away from everybody else? It was too late to refuse, so Bonnie and I just stood there, curious but a little scared about what the man wanted. To our surprise, the waiter opened the secret door to reveal a private dining room that was decorated beautifully. He offers the room to work in case we needed something more sophisticated for a photo shoot, and talked us about how passionate he was about photography and how he would have liked to go to photography school. Bonnie and I thanked him deeply, but we explained we didn't need to use it. The window upstairs was more than enough. Besides, the script said it had to look like a public space. He understood and guided us back to our table. Chad and Ari didn't react how we were just left with the waiter. They were talking to each other. Finally, we could start to the project. After what felt like an eternity, because the guys wouldn't stop joking with each other, we took all the photos we needed. We packed our things and thanked the establishment once again in our way out. When we left the bar, it was already 8 at night, and I still had to go home and edit the photos. I asked Bonnie if she knew what bus I could get home, and Chad offered to guide me. I trusted him and we started walking. Meanwhile, the three of them started chatting again. After a couple of minutes, we already passed the same street twice. We were lost again. Chad didn't actually know where the stop was. I was so anxious I wanted to scream. I started to look for the quickest way back to my home in my phone while I asked other people on the street how to get to the bus station. We were in a pretty touristy part of the city. Nobody was able to give us directions because they were from other countries. After a while, I noticed I could take the subway to the train station, so I decided to take it. The guys offered to go with me, but I was so mad at them for all that happened that day that I just thanked them and went along. I was still highly anxious during the travel since I never did a trip on my own, especially at night. After an hour of hell, I finally got home. I took a shower, ate some dinner, and took the pictures as fast as I could. The only thing I wanted to do that night was sleep. The next morning, I went to class with the project ready to be reviewed. Bunny was nowhere to be found, but I didn't care if she didn't show up. After how careless she acted, I wouldn't even bother to say I did a project with her. After that, the teacher saw the photos, gave us our grade, and moved on like it wasn't even important. But that truly was the worst group project I ever done, and it was the first one. So yeah, guys, that was my worst group project ever, and the first one I had in college, so it was a pretty bad experience. I did not enjoy any of that, as you can tell, obviously. So yeah, that's the end of my story. If something similar, or I don't know, the exact opposite happened to you, tell me in the comments. What was your worst group project or your best group project experience? I'm really curious. But anyways, I think I'm gonna end this video here. I hope you enjoyed my story, and if you'd like to hear more of me, just tell me and I'll make more videos. Also, I want to say that I added a design on my Redbubble, so if you'd like to check that out, the link is going to be in the description. Thank you guys for your support, and have a nice day!